Hello and welcome to today's video, where we will be discussing the confusion surrounding Bill Hinman's 2018 crypto guidance to the market and the fair notice it failed to provide. Since then, there have been a number of crypto market failures while the SEC claims it's given proper guidance.
It's a newsworthy event for you all. Something not so newsworthy, I'm going to remind you that my remarks are mine alone, not necessarily those of the commission, the commissioners, or the staff. But this event gives us a great opportunity to address a topic that I think has been a subject of considerable debate in the press and in the crypto community, and that's whether a digital asset, a token, a coin, offered as a security can over time become something other than a security. We may have some news on how we're looking at these issues here. So when I look at Bitcoin today, I don't see a central third party whose efforts are a key factor in determining the success of that enterprise. The network on which Bitcoin functions is operational, appears to have been decentralized for some time, perhaps from inception. Applying the disclosure regime of the federal securities laws to the offer and resale of Bitcoin would seem to add little value. Moreover, putting aside the fundraising that accompanied the creation of Ether, based on my understanding of the present state of Ether, the Ethereum network, its decentralized structure, we believe current offers and sales of Ether are not securities transactions. As with Bitcoin, applying a disclosure regime, the disclosure regime of the federal securities laws to current transactions and Ether would seem to add little value. Over time, there may be other sufficiently decentralized networks and systems where regulating the tokens that function on them as securities may not be required. Is more on the Ether side. I think for some time we've been treating Bitcoin as a commodity. It's certainly regulated that way by the Commodities Exchange group, and we haven't disagreed with that treatment. Ether is, a coin that has been evolving. The network is evolving. We think when we look at how Ether today is operating, at least, we see a highly decentralized network, and we don't see a central third party where folks are saying, oh, if that person does these things, this will be giving me an investment return. So we don't see that key third party actor. We do see it being highly decentralized. The governance is decentralized. Things that occur on that network are very public. The developer conferences are very open. We don't see those information asymmetries. So what we're trying to say is we don't see a lot of value in treating Ether today as a security.
I mean, the speech got a lot of attention because it was the first time we had expressed to the world that we didn't view Ether as a security as it was then currently being offered.
His speech was portrayed as market guidance on behalf of the SEC from multiple major news outlets, congressmen, and even published on the SEC official website, confusing matters more.
The SEC has started to weigh in. Just last week, Bill Hinman communicated that Ether was considered a commodity, not a security. And so there's been some concern as the SEC started to regulate that everything starts looking like a security to a securities regulator.
Add one more about crypto in particular. The other question we face that is very challenging is this a security and to what degree is it a security under the securities laws? And I think, I'll be honest, I think my colleagues have done a great job about this. The director of our division of corporation finance is a man named Bill Hinman, who did he gave a speech where he laid out, here's how we think about this. And gave a set of principles that the market can follow in understanding, here's how you know if you have a security or if you don't. Now, we haven't answered every particular question.
That means that from time to time, the SEC does its best work, not through the cumbersome and formal rulemaking process, but instead by talking to the marketplace. Okay, now I know what not to do. Help me understand how to do this right. And we're working on it. Hinman gave his speech.
What is it about Bitcoin that causes you to conclude it is not a security?
Well, one is there's no group of individuals in the middle.
Right, it's
there's
decentralized.
No group of individuals in the middle.
Right.
That are.
My point is it is not reasonable to fail to provide clarity, to provide the definition of exactly where on this continuum you have a sufficient common enterprise that it qualifies as a security and where you don't. You've said Bitcoin doesn't. Some of your colleagues have said Ethereum doesn't. But a reasonable developer who wants to comply with this doesn't know where that line is drawn.
So a common enterprise. I think about a group of individuals in the middle. That developer is in the middle, and the investing public's betting on them, counting on them, even if the token might be on 1,000 computers. That's not what the Supreme Court's looking at. It's not about the token being on 1,000 computers. It's just like a group of developers in the middle.
But there's
I really appreciate that question. That is the most important issue in the short term for the industry. And if the question is the current test clear? It's clear in the sense that we know what it is. It's not clear in that it's a four-factor balancing test. So I often think about what like the U.S. trucking industry would be like if the truckers didn't know that the speed limit was 75 miles an hour. They just had a four-factor test of general safety having to do with how much sleep they got the night before, the overall size of their payload, and other factors. People need to know what the speed limit is. What happens in the United States is you have a new crypto project and you walk into the SEC and you describe it in great detail and you ask for guidance and they say, we can't tell you, and you list it at your own peril. So whether this comes from legislation that defines what is a security and what isn't a security, or whether it comes from Congress in the form of legislative discretion to an agency to say what is a security, I would argue that a four-factor balancing test is no better here than it is as truckers drive down the highway guessing what safe is.
So we talked about the U.S. securities law, the Howey test. It's not, if you forget the Howey test, it's totally fine. But it's core to these initial coin offerings, and it was that four-part test, investment of money in a common enterprise, expectation of profits. So if you get into some debate and you want to have some fun with somebody, you can say, you know, the Howey test. But it's really more this. I prefer the duck test. Just use common sense. This course has been more about critical reasoning skills than anything. So if somebody's trying to sell you something or hustle you on something and you're now a venture capitalist and you're investing, use the duck test.
Movie theaters sell tickets, not a security. Street cars and arcades sell tokens, not a security. USPS sells stamps, still not a security. Kellogg's box tops, not a security. Using a digital token to record a transaction on a digital book shouldn't be a security. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.